Hello, Eric Hawkinson, your learning futurist. In this video, I hope to be a discussion around Niantic. As many of you know, I like to talk about augmented reality and virtual reality, especially how it relates to these new ways that we're using these technologies to soak up even more data about us, because augmented reality uses so much more sensors than your phone, your location, your camera, your voice. It gathers so much more extra data. And once again, Niantic, born out of Google, is showing us another great case study, an example about how you can get people to collect data for you that creates tremendous value, especially through augmented reality. So I'm going to maybe give a little bit of primer about what's going on with this. Then I'm going to discuss this new move by Niantic and what it might mean for data collection and maybe some issues with data collection and privacy and these new business models that are constantly evolving. And then I'm going to invite you guys to join in on the discussion with a few questions, and I hope to basically drive more awareness to this issue, get people more kind of in the know, and get us discussing about what this means as these technologies are going to start getting more and more into our lives and sucking more information and leveraging it for different ways. All right, so how many people know of the game called Ingress? Ingress was born out of the people that were working on Google Maps, Google Earth, even working with the Department of Defense, I believe, in trying to map out the world. And so they had this idea. They wanted to get people out into the world playing a game, basically, but they also wanted to get pictures of places they maybe saw people congregating with data collect of this foot traffic or location data they were constantly collected with the information they're collecting through Google Maps. And so this was a game, the first game of Niantic, this kind of internal startup inside of Google. And you went around the world taking pictures of these places and then kind of basically having two factions kind of control real places all around the world. And what we're seeing here is one of the first videos put out by Niantic to show about how this game was made. I think this game first came out in 2014. It came out here in this article here by The Verge. It shows the iPhone version finally came out in 2014. Before that, it was only, of course, an Android thing because this is Google we're talking about here. But this was amazing. And even during this time, this was starting to get people walking around and using augmented reality. And they're really like upping the game on this foot traffic and collection of location-based information. Like people are taking photos from different angles or things that are happening in real time. So they're really being able to start to leverage this information, this data being collected for uses outside of the game. And this is what made Pokemon Go possible, because they took all this data that was originally maybe part of Maps. Pokemon Go actually looks a bit like Google Maps, but only a gamified version. And they took all these pictures that were people playing in the Ingress game, and they were able to create this kind of world map of possible best Pokestops and Pokegyms and migration patterns of Pokemon that, of course, we learned a whole bunch from about this kind of melding of augmented digital contents with the real world. Plenty of other case studies, but beyond the scope of this discussion today. So you see that we're evolving, we're stepping up on our efforts and our ability to, kind of acquire extra bandwidth, extra telemetry about where people are moving, what people are doing in the real world that are connected to this location-based data and pictures and GPS coordinates, all this extra stuff that we're getting through the Pokemon Go game. This relates to data collection because Pokemon Go is actually making tons of money in the backdrop of using this because not only are they making money up front, tons of money, selling the customers of the game, things to use in the game like pokeballs and things like that. They're making most of their money on the back end because just like Google gets paid in it when you do a Google search on something, we'll put an ad on the front to drive traffic to that website. So every time you click on that ad, the click-through rate goes up. And then some online store, possibly a store retailer, is looking for you to click buy on something. Google gets money. Google gets more advertising revenue from that. And now that's kind of in the real world now because now, for example, McDonald's here in Japan partnered with Pokemon Go, and they were paying quite a bit of money to drive foot traffic, to drive customers physically into the store. And so instead of clicking on an ad on a Google search page, they're using these data collection bandwidths that they're getting from Pokemon Go and kind of driving people to the McDonald's, mostly by putting a Pokestop or a Pokegym in every McDonald's locations in Japan. And every time that a person would come into a store and actually play Pokemon Go, I think you got free Wi-Fi in Japan as well at these McDonald's places, so it was a good fit for them. McDonald's paid Niantic for that feed, that referral of a customer. Just recently, McDonald's backed out of this agreement because I don't think it's working out for them as well now that COVID is happening. But this was huge, and this is a great example about how how augmented reality is starting to drive this new kind of insight, these new telemetries using new sensors inside of our phone, using augmented reality to create revenue in new ways. To kind of, I could even this isn't a real thing. I'm speculating now, but they may have even kind of used special rare Pokemon that you didn't have, or used maybe something in the game where you thought the game was maybe you knew that you wanted to kind of draw you to certain locations so they can up their revenue scale even more. They're up their revenue even more. I could see that as at least a motivation for the people running Niantic as well. So this is all kind of Google's game plan. Even partnering with Google. We know Google partnered with them even after Niantic split off. We don't really quite know why they split off. It happened during the Alphabet reorganization. It might be a conspiracy idea, but it might be that Maps and the business models didn't quite meld well, and so they had to split off and have the appearance of not acting well, but they still work together quite well because even Google still uses and partners with, they may share data. I don't know how deeply they do. Here's a internal Google website advertising that they're going to actually work with Pokemon Go to get with a Google Maps Pokemon Go collaboration to hire someone and have some collaboration in other ways as well. Anyway, back to what's happening with this whole thing, with what's happening next. So what's this new stage, right? We're leveling up, like I said, for each phase, new bandwidths, greater amounts of data. And this is a startup, very interesting startup called 6D AI. They're demonstrating now a collaborative online tool that they used to generate point clouds, which is basically a 3D model of environments very quickly with people working together. Now, this is a very important tool. So now what they're doing, they're just walking around with their phones, and their camera is taking in data from around the place, and together with 4 people, in just minutes, walking around this place together, uploading all their information, they creating a 3D, basically a 3D model of the interior of their workplace. So, of course, Niantic probably looked at this and thought, we have millions of people walking around the earth. We already got, on our first in Ingress, we got people to upload photos of famous places and landmarks all over the world to help us get that Pokemon map, then to try get that McDonald's money. Why don't we use this to then now get 3D models of all of our places to kind of have everyone collectively combine to make a digital version of the world, to have these kind of high definition 3D models of the world, which could be tremendously valuable for any reason. So this is the demo that they just recently put out. Niantic, this is actual Niantic video where a bunch of different people went here. Maybe this is a Pokestop on a fountain somewhere, and a bunch of different people walked around it, or walked around the area, letting the camera take in these point clouds, and then a algorithm on a server somewhere meshes all these uploads together and creates a 3D version of that area. So Niantic is now asking their Pokemon Go players to run around the area and scan it and give them pokeballs or whatever, some pittance, as some sort of motivation to scan their areas. Now, how they're going to use this is still a little bit unclear. I'm sure the game developer side of them wants to be able to have that Pokemon actually look like it's running around the corner at you, because that's what ultimately they want as far as like that experience of gameplay. I'm sure that's on the table somewhere, but this is going to lead to tremendous amounts of data. Like the bandwidth on this data, again, is a level up. It's unprecedented, the amount of data, depth, buildings, the sky, weather, surrounding, what animals are in the area, the flowers, the trees, what's on the posters. I mean, you could then maybe start to create a 3D representation of real cities, then which can be sold again back to cities for urban planning, for designing new areas. It could inform where to put that McDonald's, or where the traffic goes, to maybe drive digital traffic to real places and connecting them in some sort of way. I mean, my mind goes pretty crazy when thinking about the possibilities of what to do with this data. It's obviously going to be super valuable and create tons and tons of value. But here's what Pokemon website has to say about that, right? So the actual Niantic website says that you're going to be able to we're going to blend. Right? They're selling this as a gameplay thing. You want better gameplay with your Pokemon? Help us scan the area. But you know from past experience that the gameplay is just what the gamers get, but they're giving up the data to create these big business models. And so the help shift part of the website says that they're going to be giving people notifications if they go to a Pokestop and say, hey, how about helping us out, making the game better? I think they're going to word it in such a way. Make the game better by helping us scan the area that you're in now. So then the Pokemon Go will kind of switch functionality for a second, and you'll actually be asked to walk around a statue or walk around an environment and gather that 3D point cloud for them. You're going to have a fairly robust system. I'm sure they'll really like it if you have a new LiDAR iPad or iPhone to really get good data, point cloud data. So that you're not eligible unless you have these latest augmented reality enhanced phones to get that bandwidth, to get that information. And they say, what do I get for contributing? Sometimes you'll get in-game items. So you'll get a couple of Pokeballs, maybe you'll get a digital badge or something like that for helping them scan. And this, of course, is a huge amount of bandwidth, a huge amount of data that you're going to be uploading with your phone. So that's, battery and time and data, which maybe you could be capped at or whatever. And so overall, this is a ton of labor they're gamifying out of the world players of Pokemon to generate huge amounts of data that will obviously create tons of value for their company on the back end for not only whatever comes next, but for these business models that I've been discussing before. All right, so let's now discuss about what all this means. I want to try to appeal to you to kind of contribute into this discussion. So what do you think around this model of kind of the clickbait moving into the real world? Instead of a nice clickbait title which you click on, now it becomes a Pokemon at a McDonald's, or a 3D kind of environment that you want to explore connected to a real place to kind of drive your foot traffic. What do you kind of see as that kind of model seeps into the real world in new ways using augmented reality? Just I want to get your thoughts around that whole concept and how it's kind of increasing in severity and data bandwidth. Number two, I'm just curious. For some reason, my mind goes to it almost seems to me like getting value out of tons of people is where the product is. So again, this whole idea where customers think you're customers, but they're actually the product. And this is what really gets me. The wording on the website is, please help us make a better game to help your experience. Of course, people are having fun. There's no doubt about that, playing the game. But if it were worded in a way, please help us drive our revenue up with these new advertising models by scanning the world, people would ask for more than pokeballs, right? I would think so. But so what do you think about that? What do you think about getting people to work for you through this gamified model? And what are the ethics around that? I'm sure that there's varied opinions on this, and so I wanted to ask that question. Right? I'm going to add these in the text. You can, if you're watching this on whatever channel, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, please comment early and often. I'm pretty good at answering the questions, and hopefully everyone that watches will discuss together. All right. Again, this was a quick discussion about Niantic and the masters of gamified data collection. I'm Eric, your learning futurist, and we'll hope to see you again maybe on the next video. Bye-bye now.